Okay, so Mark Twain is a famous American writer. His name was Samuel Clemens. We notice that guy in the first sentence they have used present tense. In the second sentence, have used him past tense. His name was. So why is like that? When we can discount something from the past, we can still use present simple or indefinite. Okay, but when we're explaining other activities of the person, in that case we have used past tense. So his name was Samuel Clemens. Young Sam lived in Hannibal, Missouri, small town on the Mississippi River. He loved the river and he liked watching the big boats on it. Samuel loved adventures. He worked on boats on the Mississippi River for 2 years. Then he went to Nevada. He looked for treasure, but he didn't find it. He worked for a newspaper there. His stories were in the name of marketing, and the people loved them. So that's his, we call it sometimes pseudonym or pen name. Later, Samuel lived in New York. His book, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, 1866, is about a young boy in a small town in the 80s, 1800. Huck Finn is his friend. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, 1884, is about Huck's adventures. These two books are very famous. Today, many people visit Hannibal because they want to see Mark Twain's home and the Mark Twain cave, the cave in the Adventures of Tom Sawyer. That's pretty cool and interesting. Chapter 1. The Fence. Tom Sawyer lived with his aunt because his mother and father were dead. Tom didn't like going to school and he didn't like working. He liked playing and having adventures. One Friday, he didn't go to school. He went to the river. Aunt Polly was angry. "You were a bad boy," she said. "Tomorrow, you can't play with your friends because you didn't go to school today. Tomorrow, you're going to work for me. You can paint the fence." Saturday morning, Tom was not happy, but he started to paint the fence. His friend Jim was in the street. Tom asked him, "Do you want to paint? Do you want to paint?" See, it's not do you, it's do you want to paint? Jim said, "No, I can't. I'm going to get water." Then Ben came to Tom's house, forced Tom and said, "I'm going to swim today. You can't swim because you were working." Tom said, "This isn't work. I like painting." "Can I paint too?" Ben asked. "No, you can't," Tom answered. "Aunt Polly asked me I'm a very good painter." Ben said, "I'm a good painter too. Please, can I paint? I have some fruit. Do you want?" "Okay," Tom said. "Eat fruit, then you can paint." Ben started to paint the fence. Later, many boys came to the Tom wants to paint and they wanted to paint too. Tom said, "Some food and you can paint." So they are painting. And Tom was just chilling. Tom stayed at the yard and the boys painted. Cheeky Tom. Okay. Tom stayed in the yard and the boys painted. They painted the fence 3 times. It was beautiful and white. Tom went and Polly, "Can I play now?" he asked. And Polly was surprised. "Did you paint the fence?" she asked. "Yes, I did," Tom answered. Aunt Polly went to the yard and looked at the fence. She was very surprised and very happy. It's beautiful, she said. Yes, you can play now. Tom walked to his friend Joe Harper's house and played with his friends there. Then he walked home again. There was a new girl in one yard. She had yellow hair and blue eyes. She was beautiful. Tom wanted to talk to her, but she didn't see him. She went into her house. Tom waited, but she didn't come out again. Chapter 2. In the Graveyard. One morning before school, friend Huck Finn waited for him in the street. Huck didn't have a home, and he never went to school. People in the town didn't like him, but Tom liked Huck. Hey, let's have an adventure. What can you do on an adventure? Tom asked. Let's go to the raid at night at 12 o'clock, Huck answered. That's an adventure, Tom said. Let's meet at 11 o'clock. Then Tom went to school, but he was late. The teacher was angry. He asked, why are you late again? I'm late because I talked to Huck, Tom said. The teacher was very angry. Sit down, girls, he said to Tom. Tom sat near the beautiful new girl. He was happy. He looked at her. What's her name? He asked. Becky, she answered. Tom smiled and said, my name is Tom. The teacher was angry again. Tom said, stop talking. Go to your place now. He said, okay. Tom went to his place. At 12 o'clock, Tom and Becky didn't go home. They stayed in the schoolyard and talked. Tom said, I love you. Do you love me? Yes, Becky answered. Good, Tom said. Then you're going to walk to school with me every day. Amy always walked with me. Amy? Becky said angrily. Do you love her? No, Tom answered. I love you now. Do you want to walk with me? But Becky was angry with Tom, okay? But Becky was angry with Tom. She walked away and didn't answer. Tom was unhappy. He didn't go to school in the afternoon. That night, Tom went to bed at 9 o'clock, but he didn't sleep. At 11 o'clock, he went out his bedroom window to the yard. Huck was there. They walked to the graveyard. They stopped behind some big trees and talked quietly. Suddenly there was a noise. 3 men came into the graveyard. The doctor, Muff Potter, and Injun Jew. Injun Jew and the doctor talked angrily. Then Injun Jew killed the doctor with a knife. Tom and Huck watched. Then they went away quickly because they were afraid. They went to Tom's yard. Huck said, we can't talk about this. Injun Jew can find us and kill us too. That's right, Tom. That's right, Tom said. We can't talk about it. Tom into his bedroom window. He went to bed to sleep well. Tom and Huck didn't talk to their friends or Aunt Polly about that night because they were afraid of Injun Jew. Later, some man went to Muff Potter and said, you're a bad man. You killed the doctor. Chapter 3. A bad day. Bad day. Remember, and bad, there's a difference, guys. Sound. When it's A and D, it's bad day, like bad. sad, lad. Okay. Becky was sick and didn't go to school for many days. Tom was very sad. Sad. You see, sad and bad, they have got similar pronunciation techniques. One morning, he said to Aunt Polly, I'm very sick and I want to stay home from school. Aunt Polly said, however, here is some medicine. Take this and you can get well quickly. But Tom didn't like the medicine. Peter, the cat, came into the room and looked at Tom. Peter, Tom said, have some medicine. Peter had medicine. He didn't like it. He went out of the open window and into the yard. Aunt Polly watched Peter. Why did you do that, Tom? She asked angrily. You were a very bad boy. Go to school now. Tom arrived at school early. He waited for Becky at the school fence. She arrived early too, but she didn't look at Tom. She went into school. Tom walked away. He didn't want to go to school now. He was very sad. Joe Harper was near the school. He was sad too, because his mother was angry with him. The two boys walked and talked. Tom said, let's run away. Yes, let's, Joe said. The two boys went to the river. Huck Finn was there. Tom and Joe said, we are going to run away. Do you want to come with me? Yes, Huck answered, let's go across the river. We can have a good adventure there. The boys went home because they wanted to get food for their adventure. Chapter 4. Across the river. Tom, Joe, and Huck went to the river. There is a small boat there. The boys went across the river in the small boat. They said, this is a good place because we can play all day. There is no school here. Okay, dear viewers, if you are interested to join any of my classes, or if you like to read this book with me, you're more than welcome. What you have to do, you have to subscribe from the sign up button. There are 2 free lessons. Possibly you can grab the opportunity to join here. Then we can have fun. We can read. We can know the meaning. We can make sentences. We can develop our speaking technique, reading skills, as well as our fluency. Okay. They played and then they went to sleep. In the morning, happy again, they said, let's start here for a long time. So let's stay here for a long time. In the afternoon, they played near the river again. Suddenly, there is noise from a big boat on the river. The boys stopped playing and watched the boat. Listen, Tom said, the man on the boat talking about us. The boys listened quietly. The man said, the boys in the river, they are dead. Tom said, those men are looking for us. We are here, but they don't know it. That night, the boys are sad. Huck and Joe went to sleep, but Tom didn't sleep. He went home in the small boat. He quietly went into his bedroom window. Then he went under his bed and stayed there. Aunt Polly and her came into his room. Aunt Polly said to her friends, he was a good boy. I loved him, now he's dead. I'm very sad. Okay? Tom wanted to say, I'm not dead, but he stayed quiet. Aunt Polly went to sleep. Tom went out the window very quietly and went back across the river. In the morning, Joe and Huck said, we are not happy here now. We want to go home. Tom said, let's go home on Sunday. We can go to church. People are going to be very surprised. Sunday morning, my children were at church. They talked to three boys. They were sad because friends were dead. Becky was sad too. Suddenly, these three boys walked into the church, and people are very surprised, but they are very happy too. You see, this story is going in a interesting way. Chapter 5 at school. Monday morning, went to school. The children wanted to hear about his adventure, and Tom liked. Talking about it. Becky wanted to talk to Tom, but he looked at her. Then Tom talked to Amy. Becky watched him, and she was angry. She said to her friends, I'm going to have an adventure day. You can come on my adventure, but she didn't ask Tom. Late morning, Tom talked to Amy again, talked to her friend, Alfred, and looked at the book with him. Tom watched them, and he was angry with Becky. In the afternoon, Tom waited for Becky at the school fence. He said, I'm sorry. But Becky didn't listen to him. She walked into the schoolroom. The teacher's new book was on his table. The book wasn't for children, but Becky wanted to look at it. She opened the book quietly and looked at the pictures. Suddenly, Tom came into the room. Becky was surprised. She closed the book quickly and tore. Becky was angry at Tom and quickly went out of the room. The children and the teacher came into the room and went to their places. The teacher looked at his book. Who did this? Who tore my book? He asked angrily. The room was very quiet. The teacher started to ask every child, did you do this? They answered, no, I didn't. Then he looked at Becky. Becky, did you do this? Tom wanted to help her. Suddenly he said, I did it. I tore your book. Tom Sire, you are a very bad boy. Stay here after school, the teacher said angrily. At 5 o'clock, Tom started to walk home. Becky waited for him at the school fence. You are a very good friend, she said. Tom smiled at her and then walked home. Chapter 6. The Trial. Summer vacation started and Becky went with her family. Tom was unhappy. Then Muff Porter's trial started. Tom and Huck remember the night in the graveyard. They're afraid of Injun Joe again. Did you talk about the night in the graveyard? Tom asked Huck. No, I didn't. Huck answered. Did you? No, Tom answered. But I'm sorry about Muff Porter. He's always friendly to us. He didn't kill the doctor. I want to help him. Let's take some food to him, Huck said. The boys visited Muff Porter. Here's some food, they said. Porter said, thank you, you're good boys. Huck went to the trial and listened for 2 days. Tom didn't sleep well at night because he wanted to help Muff. On day 3, the trial, Tom talked. A man asked him, where are you on the night of June 17? I was in the graveyard, Tom answered. Did you see any people there? The man asked. Yes, Injun Joe, the doctor, and Map Porter were there. I didn't see him because I was behind some big trees. What did you say? The man asked. Injun Joe and the doctor talked angrily. Tom answered. Then Injun Joe killed the doctor with his knife. Muff Porter didn't do it. The people at the trial were surprised. Injun Joe quickly went out of the building. Tom and Huck were very afraid, but now Injun Joe knows about it. Injun Joe knows about. He can kill us too. Many people wanted to hear about the boys' adventure in the graveyard. Tom liked talking about it. He was happy too because he helped Muff Porter, but he didn't sleep well because he was afraid of Injun Joe. Injun Joe's treasure. Chapter 7. On Saturday afternoon, Tom wanted to have an adventure because he didn't want to think about Injun Joe. He went to Hawk and said, I'm going to look for treasure. Do you want to come with me? Hawk always liked an adventure. Oh, yes, he said. Where can we look? Let's look in the old house. This is Douglas's house. Old house is a good place for treasure, Tom answered. The boys went to the old house. They wanted to look at every room. First, they went into the kitchen. Then they went into the bedroom. Hello, Fadi. Can you not see that I'm reading here? I'm sure you can understand and listen to my voice, don't you? Suddenly, two men came into the kitchen, and Injun joined his friend. The boys were afraid and stayed in the bedroom very quietly. Injun Joe walked across the kitchen. We can put our money here, he said to his friend. He started to dig under the floor with his knife. What is this? Injun Joe said. I'm going to get it out. There is a big box under the floor. He opened it with his knife. There was a lot of money in the. Okay. You think the bones? Do you think that I'm touching the bones? You just are making comments without knowing me. Look at that money, his friend said. Let's go now. We can come back and get it tomorrow. No, Indian Joe said. We're going to take it with us now. We can take it to that place. You know, the place under the cross. Then the man went out of the house. Indian Joe talked quietly to his friend. The boys left and were afraid. Tom said, Did you hear that? He wants to kill us. They went out of the house quietly and went home. The boys are afraid of Injun Joe, but they wanted to find his treasure. They watched his house every night, but they didn't see Injun Joe or his treasure. Okay, up to now, today, chapter 7. Okay, dear viewers, I know that you can't join me because it's a lesson for the subscription. Only people who has got this little tiny beads green leaves, they come and make comments. And I have to just block it from the next time so that they can't even comment here. If anyone is interested to join this reading, you're more than welcome. Remember that this is one of the new lessons, Go with the Flow, through which We can practice reading. We can practice speaking as well as listening. There are many amazing, topics, many amazing chapters. Okay, guys, and thank you very much once again for listening to me, watching it silently. I hope that you can join me in the future. If you want to know more, visit my profile. You'll be able to find out about my other classes like English grammar, vocabulary, IELTS strategies, spoken English strategies, and basic British IPA. Remember that it is necessary for you to learn and develop yourself from the level where you are. The only way you can do is by practicing a lot. Practice gives you confidence. Practice makes you motivated. Practice, takes you to the inspirational level where you can learn more. The more you learn, the more you become confident. Thanks for joining. See you later. Bye.